Whatever your brand is, use the input that you get, use the feedback to help make the brand better. You should know in your mind, who is my customer? I've made some mistakes. Yeah. Again, a lot of the time, it's just really not using the data that you have. That's when you make the biggest mistakes.
So what is your background and how did you get into this job that you're at right now?
My background, I hate when people ask me that question, but so my background is retail. So I worked in retail when I was a kid, right? And then I went to college. I was recruited to become a district manager in a store. And then I basically worked my way up to the global vice president of Lego company. I rolled out all their theme park. I had a team of people that worked for me that developed all of their theme park stores, the whole entire experience of what that was like and how in the mindset of a guest coming to a Legoland park, like what did they expect? What should we sell? And then, but my background prior to that was I worked for Charles Schulz with Snoopy and Charlie Brown. And I was a product director for Knott's Berry Farm because they had a Snoopy theme park. So I learned how to I commercialize products. So I'm a brand manager, but I know how to commercialize a product, whether it's in a retail environment, a theme park environment, for a big brand that already has an essence and ethos of what that expectation is, which is what Lego was. But anyway, so I did all of that. So I worked for them and then I went into sports development. I worked with Upper Deck, which I took personalities. So at that point, I was a brand director for Upper Deck Authenticated. So I managed Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Kobe before he was killed. I had all the dead athletes. So I had Babe Ruth and Satchel Paige and all the legends. And I had to take those personas and create things, right? So that was big time, $1 million signed Babe Ruth products to bobbleheads, like that you would get at Carl's Jr. when you did a drive-through, you get a little mini bobblehead. So I had the whole gamut of that. And then that's when I started my own business and I worked with the UFC. I went and nobody was in that environment of that sports genre collecting that memorabilia at that time. This was in like 07, 09. And I kept telling the owner of Upper Deck, I'm like, we need to go and get, all the Gracie signatures. We need to go get Chuck Liddell. We need to get all these, like the guys that came out of Pride, if you know anything about fighting. And so he and I started a little business, and then he actually is gone now, and then I started a company called American Fighter, which we sold t-shirts. It's still around. We sold it actually, so anyway, I did all of that. But then I went into digital marketing. This guy here brought me on. I'm in San Diego, and he wanted to so at that point, this was in 2016, Kickstarters were really big, and he's a big affiliate manager of a big company, and he wanted to get into e-com. So we put together a machine to search Kickstarter and find a product, and then find people that didn't have the money. They had great ideas, but they didn't have the funding to bring that product to life. And we would fund them. And we did that. We did that for a couple of products. Then we started our own brand, and we started a brand called Boundary. And we grew that brand to almost 150 million in 5 years. And it was light bulbs, emergency light bulbs, emergency equipment for your car, any flashlight, all that kind of stuff. And that's where I just developed all the products and the concepts for that. And then I was recruited by this company who's very flailing, like they're really having a hard time storytelling, reaching, and again, to tell the wrong story. So they brought it onto Amazon, and I know this would be irrelevant to your audience, so I wouldn't mention it, but they had no other digital presence. So they were just doing everything 100% there, which I don't know how you feel, but philosophically, I think you need to be in both places, like a D2C store, some kind of Shopify store where people can visit your brand within its own environment, as well as how it looks and sits on Shopify. I mean, Amazon. Amazon to me is like walking into a Walmart or you're in a big store, right? So we launched with an Amazon presence in a niche. We were a children's supplement, protein supplement. There weren't any other children's protein supplements at that time. So we had to educate, we had to start from scratch. And we were backed by doctors. We were clinically studied. We had published all kinds of, journals. They were in the American Pediatric, children's journal. They were all of that. So that's the position they took. And they took this real medical, like, your kid needs this product. Like, it was almost like you were talking to parents who had sick children, right? And trying to sell something on Amazon. So it was completely positioned wrong. They did well overall. They did finally get some other, support with, they did open a Shopify store. They did a lot of affiliate marketing and ran, which I actually found interesting when I came to this company, that how much traffic they were running from Facebook to Amazon, right? And how much they were actually generating. Because from my previous experience, that was real different, right? So they were doing some things really, really well. They weren't storytelling properly, and they were positioning it as a medical product for kids that were like underweight and not tall enough, which that's fine. Like, every parent. So I came in. So our story now is we have some other products that have come on board. They have some big failures. We have competitors now because they've searched, as we know how that works on Amazon. They see how much we make. We were up, I think they went like 1 million, 1.5, 3 million is, I think, the top we've done. But we have some big competitors now coming in doing grow. There's one competitor, I don't know if you want the name, but True Height is one of them. They do really well. And they're just coming in because we've provided all this access and this advertising for this, niche, and we've developed it. And we're the only ones in the space that actually have the clinical studies and the doctors. We have children, we have doctors all over this country as well that are on our advisory board. So anyway, that is where we are right now. We're repositioning it. Our goal this year, we've just raised we're at the same time, we're always in fundraising mode with the investors. So we've just raised money for this year, and our goal is 4 million minimum, but 4 to 5 million on Amazon. And
so were you there when they first started, when they launched on Amazon, or did they do that before they hired you? Okay.
Yeah, those people were actually let go. Those people, they were, again, they were great people, but they weren't marketers. They were presenting this as a medical product. We had nutritionists and dietitians that you need when you have a product like this, but you shouldn't allow them to be positioned. They're coming from a very staunchy medical place. And it was a turnoff to the majority of who we sell to now, because everybody needs this product. So the positioning now is, are you worried about your child's nutrition? Are they getting the right nutrition? Will they meet their potential height and growth development, based on their genetic makeup? And, and parents get that because dads take supplements, mom takes collagen to look great. So you speak to them from a language that they get. And that's the positioning now where we are. We've changed, we've had to grow a bit. We didn't have an agency that understood that. And I don't know, I'm sorry, like what level your customers are at, but we also wanted to be in a larger arena. So the strategy was, when we got our new agency, we had a really good Amazon rep. Now they won't handle us because they don't handle anybody that doesn't spend over like X amount. So that was a problem because we had this great rep giving us all this information. We knew how big our audience was, and we knew a lot of things about them that we now can't get from Amazon, but we knew we were stuck at 10 to 12 million and that we were continually advertising to that same group of 10 to 12 million. So we knew that we had to grow that, get to the next level of 15 million. And then the way we did that, which we did, was we launched DSP. They had never used DSP. And then last year we launched the CSTV or CTV program, but we also took a cut. Like, we just said, look, let's press the gas. Let's blow our ACOS. Let's just make sure we break even, but let's really, take that brand defense and let's get out there and let's just be competing with the people. Like I always say, if you want to go to a Hollywood party, walk in with the biggest actor, right? So you get the attention. So let's go sit next to the Orgains, the Pediasures, the True Height, the other people that we compete with, that people recognize their name, so that we become familiar. So that's strategy.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know if
just to get it, and if you don't mind sharing, like, me and my audience can get a picture. How much are you spending on ad spend on Amazon? If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, so that time, so the first year I got here before, so then there's another thing, Camilla, which again, we won't talk about. The war broke out. So this company was founded in Israel. So all of the doctors and all the board members, they're all over there, right? So we have to spin all of that in the way the world is right now. Like it's a very black and white situation about Israel and everything. So, so we've actually cut a lot of people, like they're gone. So we've replaced the board. They're all in Australia now. We're moving the corporate headquarters to America. We do business with Walmart and CVS. Like we have a lot of brick and mortar. So it made sense to bring all of that here. So prior to that happening last year in 22, actually, that's when we are like, okay, we need to grow 40%. This is how we're going to grow 40%, revenue and like 20% of our audience. And then we're just going to take that cut. We're going to break even with a tiny bit of profit just to get there. But then when you take the gas off, right, it just keeps growing. And that's the sweet spot, right? So that's where we're going to make our money. And in that 3 to 4 months, we increase our revenue. We started in October. By February, we were increased like 50% per day. So the way that I build my goals, I build them with the agency on a daily basis. I want to hit, when I got here, they were at 2,500, 3,000 a day. I grew $500 a day. Let's grow $500 a day. And then I needed to see how much that cost me. So right now the agency is at, because we lost a lot of momentum during that time, after that, a lot of people left. We went through another fundraising. So we had gone up to 10,500 a day, 10,500, and then we dropped back down to like 6,500. So now we're back at that. But having said all of that, I spend 36 to 42,000 a month on Amazon.
36,000 to 40,000
to 42,000. Yeah.
42,000 a month. Okay. Yeah, these are large numbers. And how much of that are you, like, what is the sales revenue from that ad spend, if you don't mind me asking?
So
on average, doesn't have to be accurate.
I run it in my head on ACOS. So my ACOS right now, because we're in another growth mode, we just got funding. So I'm like, turn it back up. We normally keep it between 12 and 20%. So right now I'm running up to 40% ad cost of sales. So my ROAS is like, we try to keep it at 1. Normally we're at like 1.5, 1.6, but right now because I'm running such high ad costs, I'm at barely a 1. And then again, there's some campaigns where I'm sitting and I'm bidding on Pediasure, Nestle. I'm bidding on like some big brands. Those are like 0.6, 0.8 right now. So it's we're in a battle right now. And then we just turned DSP back on. I did cut the TV stuff. We weren't seeing anything on that. So that's kind of what I do. I could talk forever, but
yeah, no, that's good. I mean, maybe we can start with like sharing, like, what is a brand to you? What does that mean?
Yeah. A brand to me is like the living persona of the product, right? So it is the product. It is. And the reason I say that is because when I worked, and I tell people this story all the time, when I worked with Charles Schultz and he was alive, and I would bring things into him, like it was the stupidest things, like Snoopy dogs or T-shirts or Snoopy, or usually he had a real thing for Snoopy. And he would say to me, Snoopy would never do that. Like, why would he be doing that on a T-shirt when he would never do that? So you have to think of a brand as a thing, right? Like, what do people expect of it? And it doesn't matter. And I used to teach this at the other company too. Like, everyone wants to have a brand, right? Everyone's a brand. Institutions are brands. Hospital names are brands. But we are talking about product, right? Like, how do you evoke, like, what's the emotion of that product? What is it? And again, being a D2C people, even on Amazon, it's problem solution, right? So how do you communicate all of that? But a brand is the living persona of whatever that product is supposed to,
Mm.
right? It's supposed to make you feel good. It should be a living persona of that. Like Lego, it has an essence. It's play well. It was play well. Like it's toys that stimulate the mind of children, that stimulate creativity during these really important years of, when their mind should be stimulated and creative so that they can grow up healthy adults, right? So the product is always cool. They never do anything weird or kind of take a side here or there. It's always about the imagination of a child. And even when we were doing like the Star Wars and the Harry Potter license, that was a big deal for the owner of Lego. He was like, I don't know, like we're taking sides with another brand of they were always very pure. So
Mm.
anyway, that's what to me a brand is. And yeah.
What are some advice you can give to someone starting new, who's starting a new brand, to help them spark that, brand identity?
Yeah, so that is a really good question. That is a question I answered differently today than I would have 15 or 20 years ago. And the reason is people today, we have to accept. So if you have, I don't know, it doesn't matter, like whatever your brand is, right? So you have this brand that does this thing that solves a problem for people, right? Let's say it's this pen, but this pen is magic and never runs out of ink, right? That's what makes it cool. So it's an inkless, I don't know, infinity pen, right? The infinity pen that never runs out of ink. And you position, that's what it should never do. And that's the problem it solves for people. And you know what it is and what it does, and you start putting it in ads and you start putting it in things. You have to look at the data of how people react to how you're telling the story, right? And sometimes to develop a brand, you take more input nowadays from the audience because you have access to it much faster. And people try to fight that. They're like, I can't believe they didn't like that ad. Well, I'm going to do 10 more of them. I'll show them. You have to allow your audience to have that input to the infinity pin. It might be as simple as they want to see it in pink, or, maybe it doesn't have a chunky grip, but you're not getting rid of the fact that it's an infinity pin. So you have to utilize and that builds your community and your audience and all your other things that go with building a brand online, if that's what they're doing. And then what happens is you will start to see this like evolution where you want that repeat purchase, right? We all know that. And I'm talking a little bit from my other side on, subscription and getting them to come back and getting them to come back. And then before you know it, buyers are calling you because they're like, hey, these customers keep coming in the store and they're asking for this thing that they keep seeing, this new infinity pin, right?
And so you're saying basically like you have to get the reaction from the marketplace or from the people.
It's not even the reaction. It's just accept the input, use the input that you get, use the feedback to help make the brand better. But the brand, so another really smart person said to me once, Carol, you don't have a brand, you just have a trademark and a patent, right? So a lot of people misunderstand. They'll get a trademark or a patent. That's not a brand. It means nothing. So you have to you have to have that story. What's your story? Why do you have your brand? What does it do why do people need it? So yeah.
So what is like a first stepping stones, or like what is like a process for someone new to like follow in order to develop their brand identity? Something like someone new who's never started a brand before and they have this product and they want to like create it. What is your like advice from your experience on like to begin?
I hope I can ever have this conversation again with you, but you know what your brand, I know what the infinity pin is, I know why I made it. And I learned this on Kickstarter. Kickstarter inventors are very passionate about what they have, right? So how do you approach it? So you're genuine, you're authentic. Okay, authenticity is very hard to come by, and it's very hard to lie about that. You're just, a guy like with a thing you're just trying to sell. So you need authenticity. You need a story. You need to have you need to be interesting. Like your brand needs to be interesting. You need to start building community behind your brand. So if you have authenticity and you have sincerity, you will build community and following.
How do you develop authenticity? Like, how do
um,
you,
I was,
how do you portray that?
yeah. That's a hard one, right? Authenticity is you're unique, right? Whatever that unique thing is that your brand possesses or your product possesses, never wavering from that. That's a kind of simple. Like if you just say, look at Coca-Cola, they change their formula and no one buys it. So don't change your formula. Simple, right? Simple. Maybe create another, I think they bought Snapple, and that's why other brands buy other brands that are developed by other people, because they tend to have a hard time not being authentic and sincere to their original brand or their original, product, whatever it is. So.
Mm. Yeah, when I look at like Coca-Cola, their brand identity, or the what people associate Coca-Cola with, is the feeling they get of when they drink Coca-Cola. It's like that, that.
It's kind of hard, like, to tell a brand inventor, like, or a startup brand. It's really hard because it's hard to be a Coca-Cola. They're 100 years old. So like my grandparents drank Coca-Cola, right? So I don't, if you have someone that has like this great idea and concept, how do you still tell them to start a brand and maintain their authenticity? It's hard. Like, it's just really hard. It's different nowadays. So I'd have to think more about that, because if you go through the process, like if you just put on your analytical brain and you go, okay, you build a persona, you check your persona against, the real the data that's coming, like there's that part. And you should do that too. You should know in your mind who is my customer, right? You do need to know them. But a lot of times, like, again, when I got to Healthy Height, they told me over and over and over, it's moms with kids, it's moms with kids. And then when we looked at the data and started gathering data, 40% are men. They're dads. And why? Because dads understand protein better than moms. Dads understand it builds muscle and bone, and they got it. So got to make sure you listen to even if you think you know what you think the infinity pin is for kids that go to school, but it's grandma buys it, right? Like, so you don't know, but you just stay sincere to the concept and the authenticity of the product. Like,
Yeah.
I work with athletes too. Like, athletes taught me about authenticity. Tiger Woods, he's another one. Like, when he did what he did and got in trouble, like that broke, everyone was like, oh my God, that's Tiger Woods. How could he? Like, he had always been so authentic. Michael Jordan is probably one of the most authentic people I've ever met, because he's just always the same. Like, he stands for there's a lot of athletes like that, actually. It's good to see. The fighters were a lot like that. So.
Yeah, no, that's a really good perspective. I just watched a movie, actually. It's a new movie for Jerry Seinfeld. It talks about the invention of the Pop-Tart. And it was such a good movie in terms of like branding and creating a new product.
Sing to be the best, because that, again, those are big brands, right? Iconic.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I saw that too. It was really funny.
But it was such a good story to see how, like, the brand identity really resonates with people for like simple things.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the things that we're working on now that I did in my previous role, because that was a startup, right? So we just happened to have a lot of money because the guy I worked for was a billionaire, but we did start it from scratch. And what we learned, and even so, and I'm doing this now in the role I'm in now, but it's like talking about the financial metrics of how do you, if I need my ACOS to be 12%, right? I need them to be 12% because I have all these back end costs. I'm always working on my basket size. I'm always working on how can I get more? How can I get people to buy more? How can I keep it at over $100? I know, like, that financial formula where I need to be to make every single time, $35 profit, $35, whatever it is. I have different products, but ideally it's 35, 35, 35. So, but if I can get my cart up to, for the same ACOS, 112, 100, again, the same approach I take towards with my agency every day. Like, okay, now what, how do we get it to 500 more? Where do we go in? What levers do we pull? Where are you guys like not just spending our money, but maybe, and they have a great algorithm, but maybe where something else we can pull here or there to get to the next level, while at the same time I'm getting my repeat customers. So we have a high subscriber base on Amazon. It's huge, and I have to keep them happy, but they buy the same thing every single month, right? Or every 2 weeks. So how do I reach them? How I get that sale up to $10 more? And is it adding a product? Or again, not that we want to take people off Amazon, or are we somehow getting them to come over to the Shopify store? Because I make 50% profit there, right? Because I eliminate all the Amazon stuff, which I wouldn't say to your audience, but there's a financial formula. So I could also talk to them about, more people, the more customers, how do we get them there? We do use influencers. I do create ads from all different places that run. I have influencers. My influencers have been great at running, Amazon traffic. We've worked with a couple of influencers that have Amazon stores that do really well, and we incentivize them. We've worked some pretty good deals with them because they want a lot of money, and we don't have a lot of money. But if they can prove what they do, then they should be able to make a nice commission, and we're willing to work with them on that. I know my ad cost of sales is 12 to 25%, so I'm willing to pay them, so I can talk all about that stuff too, if it's of interest to them. And then how do you get that basket size up? And what we're doing right now is just bundling the bags. So our protein comes in bags or canisters. So it's, again, the volume by 2, you create a new ASIN, by 3, create a new ASIN, and then they're just different prices. But I'm getting them from a single $38 price point to by 3, they save 25 or 30%, but I gain $108 ring end. So stuff like that. Just to always be watching our profit and putting that, getting that back in. So
yeah, please. I mean, that's really insightful. I mean, if you can give us some like Amazon strategies that you've learned and some mistakes maybe that cost you money, I would love to share that with our audience and learn from your experience.
I've made some mistakes. Yeah. I mean, again, a lot of the time it's just really not using the data that you have. That's when you make the biggest mistakes. And sometimes you have the biggest aha moments. You're just like, wow, like, shit, I could have made way more money if I would have known this sooner, like.
Do you focus on keyword research for the PPC marketing on Amazon, or do you do more of like display or brand advertising? What kind of advertising campaigns do you focus on?
Yeah, so I have an agency right now. They do everything based on algorithm. We do everything. So we do display, obviously. Right now we're focusing on, we do like brand defense and conquest, right? So right now we're working on we're spending the most of our money on conquesting. Again, just to sit in that box with those big names and big brands makes us feel bigger, and we show up, with the big guys. So that's a strategy right now, but we switch back and forth because then we'll get people. Like, one of the things that's not in this one, we are also on Walmart.com, but on Walmart.com, 20% of everyone searching for kids protein types in healthy heights, but we're not getting the sale. Like, so we can't figure out, like, they're searching under our name. So we don't understand that, but because it's new to us and they're different, but it's like looking at all of it. How many times has your name been searched for? And, what else are other people searching? What else do we watch for? I mean, DSP has been really big for us. DSP alone, we spend about $5,000 to $7,000 a month.
I think I had the same problem earlier. I typed healthy heights. Or is it healthy heights or happy heights?
Healthy.
Oh, it's healthy heights.
Mm-hmm. One of the mistakes I would have to think about it, but one of the mistakes they made is they changed their name from Healthy Height to Healthy Heights. and just
Mm.
added an S, but they had to relaunch like, why? Why would you do that after, when you're in your second or year on Amazon, why would you do that and change? And they changed the packaging. So just weird kind of
A
like
lot of extra expenses for no.
really expensive. Yeah.
Oh,
And
I see
starting
that
over.
the packaging says Healthy Heights, but the name says Healthy Height, the
Yeah.
brand.
And sometimes the old packaging still comes up in there, like it's still in there. It's weird. Yeah. And honestly, so I don't know, again, they may be smaller, but we grow our agency with us. So if we have an agency that can't grow with us, then, and we have, we get hit up all the time, as everyone does. A million agencies in my inbox every day want to analyze the business. But, we had one that it sounded really, really good. And then I was like, well, what about DSP? And they're like, oh, we don't have a DSP seat. I'm like, well, why would we go back? Or, and okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, so you just want to make sure your business is at the right size for the right, any service that you're using, right? You don't want to be like too small or too big. If you're too small and a big, when I came to Healthy Heights, we had this giant agency because the CEO came from a large pharmaceutical company. They were spending like $60,000 a month, and we had a 0.45 ROAS.
Mm.
And I'm like, wait a minute, like, what are we spending all this money on? And so now I pulled it way back. I pulled it like down to 20 just to get our ROAS, clean and healthy. Then, just get rid of all this ancillary weird advertising everywhere just to spend the money because we were just too small for them. Right.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Maybe we can talk a little bit about Kickstarter because you have some experience with Kickstarters, and we do encourage our students to start with Kickstarter to,
yeah,
generate some of the funds to develop their product and also get that social proof or that proof that
yeah,
their product is actually, is going to do well once they launch it. What
yeah.
is, yeah, what is some stuff that you can share with us about Kickstarter?
Yeah. So I haven't worked with a Kickstarter since 2021. So I don't know what's changed since then. But what we did, we as a larger company, our problem was the opposite of Kickstarter founders. Like we couldn't find product. We needed a product. We had the money and the machine and the resources, and we didn't have a product, right? So, and we actually have that problem now, just throwing that out there, because the guy I used to work for is looking for new products, just throwing that out there. But so we were like, okay, so, what are we going to do? And we launched a funnel. It was ClickFunnels days. We launched a funnel, and the copy went something like, show your friends and family you finally made it. And it was about bringing their product to market, and it talked a lot about inventors and at what point their resources start to dry up. And if they have a really great idea, they could submit the form. And that's how we were getting 200 or 300, a month. And we would go through, and they had to meet A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? So they had to have a patent or something very unique. It had to be a product that we felt we could sell. It needed to be shippable. It had to be, at the time, like now, to be honest with you, now we're not looking as much for Asian manufactured products, but that was just because of that COVID moment where it killed our business. Like we had 33 containers a month on the water to zero. And we just were like, what can we need? We just learned this big lesson here, right? Like, because this could happen with the product category vertical that I'm in now, it's all manufactured in Utah. And that's a lot of supplement companies and pet food and the pet, all of those types of things tend to be more localized. So, but at that time we had this criteria, and then it had to be like price point, and all those things had to meet something that, because we were going to launch it on Amazon and direct to consumer. And then we just went through that process, and it had to meet X amount, like in interest and investment of people that were waiting for their product. A lot of times we would get people that had a really great product and they just couldn't they had the money to manufacture. They still couldn't find a factory. They didn't know what to do. We had a company called Bowbacks, and Bowbacks was the highest ever grossing travel jacket. It had like all these different things. It had like a pillow that blew up. It had like a little beer. It had like 200 articles on it that did different things while you're traveling. Like it could save your life kind of thing. And they raised $9 million and couldn't get it to market, right? So, I
Wow.
think just I guess what I would say to if they're looking for Kickstarter is understand the landscape and who is available. Where do you go? It's not like that you couldn't find, but who do you go and talk to? Because now there's like agencies that want to find these Kickstarters and bring them to life, and a lot of times, like what we did. Do you know Matt Howitz, by the way?
No, no.
Texas. He was like a brand aggregator on Amazon, and he was looking for Kickstarters and stuff too. But in that instance, like he was a great agency for that because he kept the team. Like a lot of times the founders don't want to be the founder. They want their payday, but he would keep the team, and he would understand like a certain team brought a lot of knowledge to certain verticals. So they just need to they need to shop around. There's a lot of agencies that'll do it, and just depending what their own goals are. If they're young and they want to like continue to be a part of it, then they would go to like an agency where we would just invest in it for them. And then there was other people that would just buy the whole thing.
On Kickstarter?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Buy their usually it's like a one item, they're all one item things. They would buy their thing from them and pay out the inventor and then run it from there. There's another one I really like, Bird Buddy. Have you ever seen Bird Buddy? That was another one. It was a birdhouse with an app where you could watch the birds and it would tell you what they were. And they had the same problem. And I think they were bought out by somebody big, like, because it was a great idea. And it was a birdhouse, and everyone likes birdhouses, So
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah.
Um, well, we're almost running out of time. I mean, this is all cool stuff because I feel like a lot of e-commerce newcomers, they don't realize the power and the importance of like branding and advertising, which is
Mhm.
a whole big thing on its own that you get into once you launch your product. And I try to recommend people to get into it as early as possible because it's really important, to get that proof. As myself, I didn't get into it. I didn't learn it till after I launched my product. I was like, oh, there's this whole world of advertising
Yeah.
and
What was your
branding.
product, Mel?
I'm sorry.
What was your product?
It was dog product. So I have a brand that I sell dog product,
Cool.
and my first product was a prong collar, which was really, I was doing the research on Amazon. There's a lot of people searching for Amazon. It's not a bad product. It's like a training tool to help with training your dog how to walk. And I was doing it because I'm still learning about Amazon and e-commerce. So in my head, like I'm not even thinking about advertising. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna post it on Amazon and it's gonna like blow up
Yeah.
because there's a high search volume and you can see like other sellers making, thousands of dollars a month. But once you launch, you realize like, no, there's a whole nother world of e-commerce that
Yeah.
gets involved. And I had other issues with Amazon too, which wasn't even allowing me to do Amazon advertisement. So I couldn't like even sponsor my product listing. And that's a whole nother issue that you have to deal with Amazon when there's like a problem with your listing and trying to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah, we could talk about that with Healthy Heights too, because they made claims. So, right, because again, part of the reason the team was gone is they made all these claims and they couldn't run ads for almost a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to hire a lawyer and everything to get them like out of Amazon jail because it was bad. Like
Oh,
that
wow.
would be a mistake. Like I
Yeah.
didn't hear them, but I mean, I could have made it too. You have to look at every single thing because they use the word growth and they use the word clinical study. And even though we had that, they got shut down bad. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I lost, like, I spent over $10,000 in terms of everything to start up my e-commerce business, including the product and the shipping.
Yeah.
I'm doing it by myself, like as a
Hmm.
side business, trying to like go into it full time. So I kind of invested, I invested a lot of money into the packaging, the design, the logo,
Yeah.
started it the right way, posted on Amazon. I got to that point. I'm happy. I'm about to launch it. But then I realized I couldn't do sponsored ads. I couldn't do any advertising. And I couldn't do that for a whole year. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand why Amazon is blocking my listing from being, and I tried to ask, I tried to figure out what's going on, and they don't really tell you. They tell you, oh, here's our policy, rules, go through it, read it, try to figure
Yeah.
out what's going on. It took me a year less than a year, but it took me like 10 months to figure out what's wrong with it because I had no idea.
What was it?
It was a keyword. It was literally a word in my listing, or it was an image. Even till now, I can't even know for sure what it was exactly. It was either an image that had a keyword in it that caused it to block it from being listed, or a
Mhm.
keyword in my listing.
Wow.
So yeah, so it was frustrating because like I didn't understand why it was happening for a long time. And with Amazon, after 6 months, if your products are not selling, they start charging you a stocking fee. So they
Yeah.
start charging me like $100 a month for
Yeah.
stocking fee. So now
Yeah.
I'm losing money on top of that. I'm getting charged and my product is not selling. So I
Yeah.
asked them to ship it back to me, and my product is like distributed all across the country in 5, 6 different warehouses. And when they start shipping it back to me, they're charging me literally for every shipment they were shipping back, and it costs like over $1,000 for them to ship everything back to me. So that was a big lesson in
Yeah. Wow.
e-commerce and Amazon, all of it. Then I started the whole process again. I was like, okay, let me develop this differently. So I did what you suggested. I created a website, created social media. I have my Amazon business. I have my website. So both of them now are working like simultaneously
Yeah.
to create, like some cohesiveness. And I'm trying to grow the brand identity now. I'm trying to like create some, authenticity to it, some
Yeah.
culture
And
to it.
so when you have and again, whatever you want to talk about on the thing, but when you have a Shopify store, you're not real yet. They see Facebook ads all day long and Instagram ads, and they all take them to a store. But when they see, then what they tend to do is go to Amazon, and then they go, oh, okay, they're on Amazon. It gives you like credibility, right? So
Mm,
you can control more what's going on that other side, but to validate, and it is like almost, we should have talked about that, but like a first level of authentication. Oh, they're on Amazon, right? So
mm.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good.
It is important to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's that was like my whole thing. So it is a learning process, and try to share as much as information with new sellers. I mean, and here's the thing, like if you have a novel product, it will blow up. Like I was just speaking to there's a new company called Nectar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's a new brand started by these 3 guys in San Diego.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And it was such a novel idea. So they combined a brain supplement, like I forgot what it's called, but it's like healthy for your brain function. And they mixed it with a bit of caffeine. And the way you take it is like it's like a chew. You chew on it like you chew on tobacco. It's almost in that form. So you can do it anywhere you are. You can do it while you're working or working out or on a trip. So it's very easy to access, very easy to take. And it's supposed to not give you that high caffeine dose, but it gives you a bit of like a brain supplement where it gives you good alpha brain supplements for your brain activity, plus a little bit of kick of caffeine where it's not like it's gonna make you crash. So they
Right.
found this like novelty of a product and they blew up. They made $1.4 million in 1 year. 3 guys in San Diego. Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
I have a friend, my old media buyer. He's working for Daily Dose mushroom coffee or
uh,
creamer. Have you seen the ads?
is it
And
shrooms?
it's
Called
shrimp.
shrooms?
No, it's called Daily Dose.
Daily dose. Okay.
Daily Dose but it is all like mushroom based. And he's the media buyer. And I mean, he made me want to cry. He's like, I'm spending $130,000 a day on Facebook ads. And I'm like, oh my God. He said they are huge. They went from zero to like gigantic
Wow. Wow.
doing mushroom. That's when I was telling him, my old boss, he keeps calling me. He's like, no, let's do something. He just has like that addiction, like, cause we've done it before. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm tired. You made way more money than I did. I'm still living in my house. Like, you have like a yacht company and all this other stuff, but hello. So I don't know, but yeah, but it is fun to blow up like that.
Yeah, I spoke with a similar company, the owner of a brand called Shrooms, and they make those mushroom supplements into like gummies. They're based in LA. They also blew up.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, there's a demand for, mushroom-based
Is it
supplements.
microdosing or just micro, or is it
No, no,
just
no. It's
not
not
like the micro?
psychedelic.
Yeah.
It's like mushroom-based supplements.
Uh-huh. Well, now
Uh,
they do like the microdose one where you get kind of high.
oh,
Like they sell those on Facebook too. I don't know, in California, I'm in San Diego too, and they sell like pot or THC infused soda with a microdose of mushroom.
oh, wow.
Yeah. What the hell? We would have gone to jail for this crap like when I was a kid. But anyway, good for them.
Oh, wow.
Nice
Okay.
sell it. But anyway,
That's amazing. Well,
yeah.
I don't want to keep you any longer. We just ran out of time. I appreciate your time and all the
Yeah,
insight. I really enjoyed.
yeah. Yeah, it was
I
nice meeting
enjoyed.
you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoyed talking with you. It was nice meeting you too.